Colleagues, let me take this opportunity to invite questions from the House. The drill is the same. You raise your hand, identify, and then you go for your question. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm a journalist at Manila Media. My name is Sana Hines. The President Trump has nominated a new American ambassador to South Africa. Was this nomination discussed on yesterday's cabinet briefing, and what is cabinet's comment on that? And then Africa has written to Ramaphosa to ask him to condemn the scene of Feel the Good. This is after journalist Malema Samuel on Human Rights Day. Was this a topic on yesterday's cabinet briefing, and does the cabinet have any thoughts on that matter? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question from the House? Yes, sir.
Good morning. Liam of News from Africa. Minister, I just want to find out, I have with me a document that comes from the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality. The executive mayor there has launched a petition initiative on the 20th of March 2025 to demand urgent action against, or rather from the president, with regards to crime prevention in the metro. Do you perhaps have any knowledge of this, and what are you going to do going forward with the petition that the executive mayor has launched, and perhaps is this not in conjunction with government nationally? And then also just to get clarity on the hemp and cannabis, the withdrawal by the Department of Health. I understand you did say that you do support the withdrawal as government, but I just want to get clarity. Is it a withdrawal in the formal term of a long-term plan, or are you perhaps saying that you are still going to invite public consultation, even with the business sector, to really ensure that you reach consensus with all of those sectors before you actually can proclaim that you are withdrawing it formally? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? Minister, in the absence of any other question from the House, we'll invite you to respond.
Given that there are not many, can we do the online ones so that we answer once and then we can do the phone?
With that guidance, thank you very much. Vanessa will assist us with the online questions. Though I see, Minister, most of the others are still typing on the online platform. Vanessa, the ones that we have?
So far we have 3 questions from Sharon Maris at Galaxy Broadcasting Africa. The first question: what is the process before and after appointment as a minister or ambassador in terms of security clearance and background checks by state security agencies? Did Minister Gaten McKenzie get security clearance? If Minister Gaten McKenzie received security clearance as a convicted criminal, what does this mean for South Africa's integrity? Another question is from Prince at NetRap24. Did the Cabinet discuss the current impasse with the national budget? And is it concerned about the possibility that it might not be passed in Parliament, as various political parties indicated that they will not support it because of the proposed VAT increase? The second question: can the Minister please provide further clarity or details on exactly what and who law enforcement agencies are investigating regarding the violations of South African laws with regard to the continuing misinformation and disinformation campaigns? The next question is from Queen Motsoaledi at Sunday World. Was there any discussion around digital migration? Will the government be able to migrate households by March 31st? That's all the questions we have so far.
Thank you very much, Minister. You might take all the questions and then close the session for us. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. It's an interesting set of questions. Let's start on the question of the U.S. ambassador. The U.S. is a sovereign state, so they have the right to choose their own ambassador. They don't have to consult with us. Ours is when we receive the credentials, to consider the credentials and decide whether to accept and not accept them. And that is not a cabinet discussion, it's the responsibility of the Department of International Relations and Cooperations. And the AfriForum letter of demand on kill the Boer, kill the farmer, I haven't seen the letter to the President, but I want to give this following commentary. South Africans will recall that the matter of the singing of revolutionary songs that were alleged to incite violence were taken to court, and the court judgment came to say the singing of the song has its context, is not inflammatory. It is part of the history of this country, and it cannot just be washed away. And singing it has nothing, is not an incitement of violence, it's just a celebration of the struggles where we come from. And it's not unique to South Africa, it's across all countries that had gone through. You'll recall that the struggle for for the freedom of South Africa, including fighting the Boer who were oppressing the blacks, who were killing blacks, and kill the Boer, kill the farmer, was sang in that context. And today, as we speak in South Africa, we are a non-racial, united country with the protection of everyone. And on the budget impasse, I don't know of a budget impasse. As the executive, we tabled the budget through the Minister of Finance in Parliament. In terms of legislation, Parliament is required to do its own job of considering what the executive has submitted, and as we have indicated previously, Parliament can either directly amend the budget to say this is how we're going to this is how we want to fund the departments, because it's taxpayers' money, they have the responsibility, or they can refer it back to the executive to rework, or they can decide because they are political parties, they can decide to go and put it there for a vote and say, through this vote, let's see which way the political parties who have been elected to govern will do. We have indicated that the Minister of Finance and staff at the National Treasury will continue to work with the relevant committees of Parliament who are considering the budget to respond to the questions of parliamentarians across all the parties in the relevant committees, whether it's the Appropriations Committee, is the Finance Committee, and the other relevant committees. On Tuesday, is it Tuesday or Wednesday, the 2nd of April, Parliament is going to vote on the fiscal framework that informs how the fiscal must be managed. So let's wait and see what Parliament decides. As the executive, we have done our part and we have tabled. We are required to only do that. And in terms of who the law enforcement agencies are investigating, what are they investigating? We've clarified that investigating the violations of South African laws by those who are misinforming people, those who are conducting acts of lobbying against the country in contraventions of the rules of this country. And who, if I tell you who, then I'll be jeopardizing the investigations. So I'm not at liberty to say who they're investigating. And then on the digital migration, as we indicated some years ago, South Africans have migrated, whether we wish it or not. So the exercise that is being done is just to complete. We have also released the spectrum. We auctioned it, and now you are using 5G technology because the country has migrated. So the matter that so the completion of the distribution of the set-top boxes is just because people have applied and they're even not coming through because some of them are already on satellite television in one form or the other. So people have self-migrated, and the TV sets that are sold in the country enables self-migration. So the few remaining towers that have to be shut down are literally just hogging the space and making broadcasting in this country very expensive for the public broadcaster, if we must say. And it's not in the interest of South Africans that that process be prolonged. It has to be concluded. And on the hemp regulations, the regulations have been formally withdrawn by the Department of Health. If you'll recall, South Africa did a couple of things from the sixth administration. We developed a hemp and cannabis strategy, because we understand that industry is a growing industry and it will be beneficial to majority of our provinces, in particular rural provinces. So we support the development of hemp and cannabis products and their and their good use, their licensing regulations and so forth. Also, last year there was the act that was passed following the Concord judgment for the private use of hemp. In line with that, the Department of Justice, together with the Department of Health, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Small Business, the Department of Trade Industry, I might have omitted another or two departments, and local government, COCTA. They are working on regulations to enable both the strategy, the hemp and cannabis strategy, and also the implementation of the hemp cannabis for private use purposes, and that, because all laws as they are implemented, there are regulations that are there. So you won't see the resuscitation of the health regulations. You'll have this interdepartmentally generated regulations, which will be public participated for, public consulted for people to make their inputs, the industry and everybody. But as part of our economic strategy is to grow the hemp and cannabis industry as a country. It's part of our economic strategy. But of course, there will be concerns about the impact if it's not regulated if its use is not regulated for children in particular and other vulnerable groups. But that is done in the sense of us promoting the use of hemp and cannabis as an economic sector of the country. I thought that I must just clarify it properly. And the ministers and ambassadors get security clearance. Every country clears their own ambassadors as they get deployed in another country, so that the credentials can be accepted. And I want members of parliament, except for specific committees, they do not go for security clearance. But specific to Minister Mackenzie served his crime. Our justice system is a corrective and rehabilitative system, and therefore Minister Mackenzie is not only a convicted criminal. Minister Mackenzie has been rehabilitated. He's the one that informed all South Africans. If you remember how you first got to know him, is when he was fighting corruption at the prison, and he exposing corruption by prison warders and so forth. And you must remember, when we want to condemn a person, you must remember their good deed. He has served his time, and he has demonstrated to South Africans that he has been rehabilitated. He has continued to do great work, not only as a member of cabinet, but as a citizen before he was a member of cabinet, contributing meaningfully to the development of this country. And on the petition, I'm not aware of the petition by the mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay. There is no need for petition. If you recall, Minister Mkhunu last year went to make a visit specific to Tebeja and Nelson Mandela Bay, because it's part of the areas that have been identified as a serious crime hotspot. And the security and justice and crime prevention cluster have deployed several teams that are working there. That's why there is continuous work that is being done. As the state agency, we have lost one of our members in the course of, and this is 2 weeks ago, in the course of dealing with the crime situation in Nelson Mandela Bay. So there is no need for a petition. We are working to deal with criminality, not only in Nelson Mandela, but in the whole of the Eastern Cape, because if you recall the high incidences of murder in that province, and we engage with the Premier, and the Premier engaged with us to have a dedicated focus, and we have a dedicated focus in that area. The challenges are huge, but the law enforcement agencies are working jointly to deal with the crime situation in the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality. I think I've answered all the questions that were done, that were given to us. Can I do the job of Mr. Baloyi? Are there any other questions before I close? Because we need to move to cross over to the President as he addresses the Water Summit. There are no more hands? No more questions on the platform, no more questions on hand. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We look forward to engaging with you and appreciate your continuous response as we come through. And we'll try to settle on a time that accommodates everybody to arrive on time. And I know today you were affected by a shift from 10 to 11, from 11 back to 10. Thank you.